The sorry Trimble Oji, so my wife Mary is selected Peter Stra. I know the Hakuranta Kenja Sorinli, the Kenjaka, and Senja. The Kenjaka Fonta in Jet Quintlogo to go and select me, the Masitro, Kequalat Noha Oli.
Did you get on rich Gilbert Dennington?
I knew that I was going here, and I started Liqua.
Took certainly. Yeah, John Rich, the well early, I said, Dennington.
Well, Chuklani, you. You can check a green higas and drink sakuli. And the train and I could shut the check a king hikwa. And that Sonchani, that the kinchuk and illy like a tricky, I can just Sachelan, the Sunday retail, chuk that lane I need Tangos and lane I sanitja, and the yen and Hawaii goes on Goga. I just tack the kinchuk and jet, and I can just Helan in Chilla. Jude in Jijuka kin Hinai, I night attack goats and Kukakahan, Tulchi and Jetjuk Yakati, a movie camera, I jet Gareha going, and Deacon Chika with Egua Chanja, that's an uncut neat Atanguan Tinchi, neatly as she lay Nekonli. And none Saki Edason, Nitchin Kokontais and Koiket Kukutli, and that Lena need take a kinchik again she, and that I cookie a kint I, and the Ejected Sansan a king here, and that the kinchik a quintai quachi, that did I hequa, and I kinchit the kinchik. En zich Rinchel, ja kun see, the cookie hat in an ayenta, that's just cake of Aunt Handa. I jitty to Kunatak cook the hand lochi, and I kids and cookie hantal and jet. And the sheer Arctic village Gwich'in is a Gwich'in, needs a Gwich'in disha, and the is a Gwich'in. Mary, the Peter and I had such a shoe Sajilki, and as you say, Arctic net sciences of any try at I had taken Chika, Lena taken Chika in he, and I cookie had eats and cookie handle chicken jet the university gets on Tangusit, Kita Hacha and jet and Juk Tanakuchokohen. And Nets a Gwich'in guna, Nets a Gwich'in, Nets ein Gwich'in guna I that article is Gwich'in nighterana. And Tinchi Shuhne. I can get like what's on a quicket go I guna. Tancha 1,000 year on desert Gurichi. And I yen not teach so. Deal like I had a taquinta on desert and that juk that does it play quite at Gurley and that the kinchik green she's at and the Contake Kohaltak I ran. Nesa Kuch and Guna I yen not like she quadne quadra kunanja. Then chiga it on the guy and the signs it on the guy and the ne shit ne quata that lange ne shit corante is on desert corante and 1800 maybe 1880 1890 konate Latin Chikon League now and it's a good channel and what's like recon gurantai, and stuk second liga chiva kotri inkwa, and ditiva tetera enkwaki inkwake ankava ko country nekwadak ka what's like and Thotlerana I quite see I said well lot got it seen I what's I tangun chiktikia and what's I visa or day din cheat sakita cha I thought I son din cheat like only Isaac equa that and that din I Isaac equa so what's I lay gizet a hundred din cheat sakita cha san kokwa Caesar I had it in Jesu kontai ko tletonja and Tristan gona maybe 1890 gona 3 nekota the ticket pleasure what's I kwagena what's I to thaka hen kwaza tletin jine shacha gona and pleasure Tristan guri Goko hentai ka kintai za Gwich'in hira chilgina I cheke lil sa thank khwaza iti but say da val je teke endgora natali I had leja chaka a khwaza ta thak leja nes Gwich'in nai thak Gwich'in sa ka ha chilgora nei and sa leja Gwich'in ne shit ko kon cheko kuna and shietan chaka a khwaza and Gwich'in hira chilgina I Santa ke ko kwantak inuk chan vini thai kontai I ko ke kwantak Gwich'in hira chilna taina a khoje ta te kwese ke ko haltak I Gwich'in hira childa Gwich'in nai ko sakna Shit salakoka aha ko venture cuisine ko let ko na anza ko kontai an ka ein la link khaneri on te takana khanet sein ko se ko hotel ko rahna anza satinji shathi de chilguna ein te ya all crow me person Ejiko anga ejik inchi ka tinji lat nei ha chil that's Gwich'in circle san anja tannan san for pensko ka anja yetit mentho ka Peter Salmon ejik gwinta ejik so quite Paul Salmon wonte anja Ejik Gwich'in sanjik all crook inchi ka ha childa ejik ein Gwich'in nei san ejik an san kolat nei chat ke kheta kachet anta ejik an san unchit khet ejik an san kolat nei sas ko te ko kul chikta ko ni janet chi nei sekundle anta ein te like andro chover an te Fort me person ket ejik family nei ni janet chi nei kundle and that's an old cross at ilag nei ein chocolate and the fruit base got such a chocolate got circles and chocolate nei ninchel and yet it meant chocolate get that Peter Salmon sa ejik sa vanakwa that kunya and ein te just it in G shot here the childa shot killed sankunya now that I'll talk English you know Arctic Netsanger and that's an Arctic village Netsang Gwich'in I know one time you know the thousands of years they've been there and the caribou is there with them so they survive many years there and with bow and arrow and later on when they built that caribou corral and that seems like that owner has become chief because he's the one that's getting a lot of caribou sometimes. So he share with it. He share with the people. So all the people move into his place and for caribou, and the caribou meat, and also that fur, caribou skin, is they use it for pants, parka, and boots. So that's how important the caribou is during that time. There's still a lot of caribou corral here and there in Arctic Village, but very kind of rotten, but then you can see it. And also further up, and probably around late fall, around August, people hunt for sheep, and then they use bow and arrow, so they climb a mountain, and they chase them to each other, and with a bow and arrow. And sometimes the next mountain, they try to run into the next mountain, and that's where they got the sheep fence too. And then they put the snare between the logs, lay on the ground, and then they put snare. Snare is a caribou skin. They clean it, they cut the hair off, and they scrape it, and they make the sinew, bobbies. So they make it snare. So when the sheep was run into another mountain, because there's a lot of them up there, chase them, and then they catch them with that snare. So I seen that snare fence up there, not too high, but they just put a log on the ground, but they don't jump over the logs. So not too high. And then that old man told me that when they catch that mountain sheep, and with a skin snare, and they don't pull like wolf or any other animal. When they catch them with a snare, and they just jump like this, because they live high way up in the mountain, so they're not pulling, get away from it, so that they kill them with a bow and arrow. So I seen that by foot and about 50 miles north, and then I seen that sheep fence. And then one time there is a famine, 3 years. There's no caribou up there. People having a hard time without caribou. So there's a lot of fish too on every lake up there, and but they don't have a gill net. They don't have anything to catch with. They probably make a hook, bone hook, but that's not enough for the people. So one winter, people really having a hard time without food. What happened is they all moved into Fort Yukon with pulling sled. Sled means a caribou skin sled. And then they pack all their gear, and then with snowshoe, and they headed to Fort Yukon, and they just barely make it to Fort Yukon, all of them. So the Fort Yukon people help them with food and everything. They provide a lot of food for them, and a lot of fish maybe. And then after everybody better shape, and then just few people went back to Arctic Village, and almost way over half they moved to different places, like Old Crow and McPherson. We still got people there. And then Circle and Minto. We know we got one person over there, but he got old and he died long ago, Peter Solomon. So a lot of them never did return to Arctic, but some few family returned to Arctic village. So that's where we come from. And that's really a very sad story, but that's a good story to remember that starvation time and people really having a hard time. And that's what happened. That's why we got relative over Old Crow and a person probably over that Mento to Encircle. So a lot of them never did return. And so
back in those days, the language was very strong, right?
Yeah, that's all they spoke, their own language, Tinjijuka, and Tinjijuka Kikinshi. And I just agree Kikinshi as a kona one outlet hakin taikwa. And one outlet and get the kullat kiki, and that for the for the future children, you need to learn your own language. And everywhere, Athabaskan region, about 43 villages in our region, and we need. We know you are important to us for the next generation to come. So you can't just speak the English. That's not your language, but you need it, but you gotta talk your own language in every community. That's one of the reasons we're here and teaching. You have to listen to the people. You have to listen to the elder. You have to listen to your grandparents. And you can, I'm pretty sure that you're gonna have good long life like a long time ago. And people a long time ago as exercise every day. They are very strong people. That's where we come from. They walk from Arctic to Gwich'in with snowshoe. And that's a long ways. But that's just, they don't feel it. They're strong people and they walk with snowshoe breaking trail all the time. So you turn that. Peter? Oh.
Pete. My first name is Pete. My last name is Peter. You know, Trimble is talking about all these, why we came here. Long time ago, there's a lot of Gwich'in people and everybody spoke our language. But today, we're getting smaller group, and the problem is the language is not really spoken anymore, and the elders are really concerned about that. The elders want the kids to learn. Only way that could happen, he sees, is we got to start speaking to them at home. It's very important to do that. And also the thing about being here and getting all the Gwich'in people here, even from Hawaii, even from Canada, and that's a blessing to this conference of getting here and talking to the student here. He also spoke about the importance of the caribou, how the language, it's in line with the caribou, because back in the day we only spoke Gwich'in language with the caribou. Today we speak the Gwich'in language with the caribou, and also we speak English. It's also important on that side, but we still have to hold on to our language.
One other story I call that. And then is a Gwich'in night. Without taking heat, that and she did the what's like in check the way I cause on Nikihin chicks and Nikihita. And the just a Gurigo Conta is a Heston like a Gwich'in. And the is you get at the Gwich'in, Gwich'in, I month of July, the blueberries ripe elite. Then you river na. I someplace go on Gwich'in. Again, lanes a Gwich'in, tron, training, solicits a agre. I, je go the dule niva, she is a drana that it should. And Chichitzaha ein Kleberana. And Chichitzaha ein con Chuck engine and that visual check that Chuck not pleasure Chichitzaha ein Kleberana. And I've once training hill chain like quick a conchip. And that thick, you can't gunti that thick in a country. Na kanti da niget kon kan na kanti kuna training ka kanti. Anza la niyo ka training enche ka kanti kuchima. Anza te koshi kwaza te chatan kutsaka hachel kunya. Is din chichi lak naji. Anza tai khat le tida khatwa ya urana. Aida no binoculars, just Hatswaya, Vatantea. I had New York, the Tida, I had on ta, you can quaka cotli, as a queen seat or catco, as you got on the tea right, solna, anywhere. And that like could into Gwich'in. And the quantainja you know, the kids and Gwich'in, she's at the Zayitza ha. Gujiri kwanja net jate invrana. Za niye kwayen yeni shekhe yitsa hache ein chatsel hilchinja ein chak nat jate in livrana. And za ein train in ekwa ein la den chita taxo det livrana. Yen ekwa ein za den ide yil chisa o an the ya hoi. And that den china take an etikta ein train in kana chiklat den chita taxo det livrana. Chitelaja kukute into Gwich'in ko contact. Now, in English, Gwich'in people, they don't really stay settled one place because they move around a lot, maybe 50 mile, 100 mile northeast, southwest, for looking for food. And that's the only way they go after that animals, and when they kill moose or caribou, then they shear and they survive. And that month of July, I read, and when that blueberries was ripe, and they are camping somewhere. Oh, the whole village people are there. And what happened is that one night, and that baby was little boy crawl out, maybe skin tint. He must be hungry. He know that berries is there. So he picking berries, and he probably just keep going. And that morning they found out that baby was missing. So people go out and search the whole area for a long time, but there's no trace of it. And then they probably having problem with food, so they move to another place. And then one hunter was sitting on a hill look out for animal. And he spotted one black thing move around right in the middle of the big open place. So he thought maybe that was some kind of animal. And then he walked down, and he get closer to that place, and then that he still moved around And then he getting closer, and he found out that was a little boy missing. All that time he been eating that blueberries, and he looked probably kind of blue. But then, around Arctic villages, the mosquito is just thick during that time. Well, I don't know how he survived, and he probably crawled under bush or something, and there's nothing wrong with him. Well, that's a miracle. Things happen a lot of times like this, and people keep telling generation to generation. So it's make me think a lot when I heard that. My mom always tell me that. And sometimes we think really hard time for us sometime ahead of us. But my mom, and the way they talk is, if you really want to help, I know what you think about that little boy. I know you are willing to help if you see him. But if you're not there, life is different time, and you can go ahead and help the little boy and help others, the one who around you. It's not much different to help the little boy. That's a wisdom talk. And so he took him home, and he packed him home. Gee, everybody was so happy, surprised, celebration on the little boy. That's a good story to think about it. And it's good for the children's. And like I'm saying, if you sometimes helpless people around us, and we can always help others, and that's what the story for. Miracle things happen to the people. What's say? What's say?
I have a question. Is that okay?
Hmm?
So earlier, Pete, you talked about speaking to the bensai, the caribou, in Gwich'in. Can you explain that a little more, or share more about that?
Well, the caribou we're talking about is back in those days, everybody only spoke Gwich'in language, and there's just the way of the caribou and the Gwich'in word is the only one they knew, and there was no English in it at all. And everybody spoke Gwich'in language, and I would say, Tinchiju, Akron, Hiji, I take on Charlie, and I Tinchiju, Akron, Hiji, I would say, on Nelly.
Well, we're connected to the animals, and that's from the legend story from the way back, and we know. It sounds like we communicate with the different animals, and they're like wolf and caribou. Caribou people, they know a lot about caribou. Just like old people, my dad, James, he died about 18 years ago, 19 years ago. And he's the one that's sitting outside, look for caribou with a scope every day. And then he know that weather too. And a lot of time he said that fog was down to the ground, and when it was soon warm up and lifting up, he said, today is the caribou around here somewhere. And he also that they dream about it. They know a lot about caribou. They dream, I know caribou is going to be here next few days. And then he started, when the fog lifting up, and then he used a scope, and he said, here he is. A lot of time he was doing that. And a lot of people, other people know a lot about caribou and animal. They dream about it, and So yeah, that's, they live with it thousands of years, and so we know a lot about that. Mm. So one other thing is one more story. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, so you want to share.
No, good.
Well, another story I want to share with again, and for kids. And Arctic Village is about 120 miles north of Arctic Circle. And people there, we hunt caribou August and September because they're getting fat. Migration is moving that way. And so month of July is there, like I'm saying, a lot of fish, but then no gill net. So, and they probably catch one with a spear they make, but not enough for the whole people. So what they happen is, and when it's a month of July, no caribou around that area, they all move way up north, and maybe 50, 75 miles north. They hunt for sheep. And one time they, northeast, we call Shinjuk, Shinjukarkarana. That's where they move and move for the sheep. I don't know how, before the August is caribou migration is coming back now. So they got to come back to Arctic Village. That's what they did. And before they getting ready to come back to the village, and then, like I'm saying, that pretty hard to keep the dogs that time because no food, and hard to feed them. They're starving. So they lost one female with big belly, puppy, pregnant. And they probably searched for it in a couple of days maybe. But during that time is a lot of wolf on that area, Shinjuk. They're breeding, and a lot of them all over. So people think that that dog was maybe wolf got him. So they just go ahead and come back to Arctic Village. And then they spend time up in the northeast. There's the Chanle, we call that, and that's a valley in the timber. That's where people always there to make dry meat and move up there, everybody. And then they forgot about that dog. And then maybe what time, daytime or evening, I don't know. That dog came back with 7 puppies. My mother tell her that, and that they said they're very nice looking dog, good fur and everything. So there's another thing, is that they don't know how they survive. They thought maybe the wolf may be taking care of them. And wolf are very intelligent animal. He used to work with people, and because he loved people, he wanted to be dogs a long time ago, but the boss said, "You're going to be the wolf." He was angry to the dogs, about dogs. And so since that, he don't like dogs. But I think he want that puppy. He care about puppies, so maybe that's the way he survived. So my mother said, grandma, old grandma, he lived over 100 years old, 120. he said the nice looking pup, 7 of them came back, so everybody was happy. So they want 1 each to the family. So that's another time that's happened. And that story is just continue on to the next generations, and it's really a good story. And that I thought you were well on Gwich'in chikara nagon Sanya Chakun Taiguna, Japan Kukuchi, Sanchi. I was a Kunchi, Wachakun Taida, Kian Kanti, Gabak Hill Chita Zogiet, Wanjakiuna. And the Kian Kantiga was a waste time, and such an article is could say, oh, Chelkunya. I said around October, or that some leg on Kukuchi, which I find. I had a 7 puppy, and that in Chitak so that is a Nikkeko Kilshigorana, and that chat a Gwich'in I couldn't look at contact. I got story, it's good for the kids.